Imagine a world where the sun goes down and humanity simply stops. No warm cave glowing in the darkness, no cooked meat, no smoke rising above the trees, no stories told around a fire, no tribe huddled together against the cold, just darkness. And inside that darkness, teeth. Hyenas laughing beyond the rocks, lions moving silently through the grass, children pressed against their mothers, listening to every snap of a branch. Now imagine that this never changes. For hundreds of thousands of years, ancient humans keep walking the earth, but they never learn the one thing that turns night from a death sentence into a doorway: fire. The question is not just, would humans survive without it? The real question is darker. Would we ever become human at all? In our real history, fire was one of the greatest turning points in human evolution. Archaeologists have found strong evidence of controlled fire use at Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, dating to around 1 million years ago, including microscopic wood ash and burned bone found deep inside the cave. Later, fire became more regular, more controlled, and eventually something humans could make, not just capture from lightning or wildfires. Recent research even suggests early humans or Neanderthals may have been deliberately making fire in England around 400,000 years ago using flint and pyrite. Fire gave early humans warmth, protection, light, cooked food, a reason to gather after sunset. It changed the body, the brain, the tribe, and eventually the planet. But in this alternate timeline, that spark never comes. No one learns to carry embers. No one learns to protect a flame. No one learns to strike stone against mineral and bring light out of darkness. So what happens to ancient humans when the night always wins? In this timeline, the first disaster is not hunger. It is night. Every sunset becomes a border humans cannot cross. In our world, fire pushed back predators. It made caves safer. It let humans sit together in the open, glowing inside a circle of light, while animals waited beyond the smoke. But without fire, early humans remained trapped inside the natural schedule of fear. When the sky turns black, movement becomes dangerous. A hunting party cannot return late. A child who wanders too far is gone. A wounded adult cannot be protected by a burning branch. There is no torchlight, no smoking perimeter, no embers at the mouth of the cave. The night belongs to animals with better noses, better eyes, and better claws. So human groups become smaller and more cautious. They sleep in tighter shelters. They climb more often. They choose caves not because caves are comfortable, but because caves are defensible. But even caves are colder, darker, and more terrifying without flame. And because the night ends human activity, something else disappears. The evening. That strange human time after survival work is done, when people sit together, share food, watch faces, hear sounds, imitate gestures, and remember. Without fire, the day ends fast. There is less time to bond, less time to teach, less time to tell stories, less time for language to grow in the dark. And that changes everything. Because humans did not become powerful only because they had hands. They became powerful because they had each other. But in a world without fire, the tribe has fewer hours to become a tribe. Now the alternate timeline moves deeper, into the human body itself. In our world, cooking may have been one of the great hidden engines behind human evolution. The cooking hypothesis, famously associated with Richard Wrangham, argues that cooked food gave humans more usable energy, made digestion easier, and may have helped support the evolution of larger brains. Without fire, all food stays raw. Raw roots, raw meat, raw seeds, raw tough plants. Raw bone marrow only when tools can reach it. This does not mean ancient humans instantly die. Many animals survive perfectly well on raw food. Early humans could still scavenge, hunt, gather, crack bones, and eat fruit when available. But the energy equation is brutal. Raw food takes more chewing, more digestion, more time, more risk from parasites and pathogens. Meat spoils faster. Tough plants remain locked behind fibers and toxins. Starches are harder to unlock. So the human body in this timeline may stay more ape-like for longer. Larger jaws, bigger teeth, heavier guts, more hours spent chewing, less surplus energy. And the brain is expensive. Even today, the human brain burns a huge amount of energy compared to its size. In this timeline, without cooked calories, evolution faces a trade-off. Do you build a bigger brain, or do you keep the gut and jaw system needed to survive on raw food? Maybe humans still become clever. Maybe tools still improve. Maybe language still begins. But everything is slower. Every thought costs calories. Every child's brain costs the tribe food. Every winter punishes the body harder. This is where the timeline starts to bend away from us. Because without fire, humans may never get the same biological boost that helped make Homo sapiens so strange, so social, and so dangerous. We might not become the creature that reshapes the world. We might remain just one more clever primate trying not to be eaten after sunset. Now picture the Ice Age. Cold wind across open steppe, frozen ground, long nights. Animals moving in huge herds through brutal landscapes. In our timeline, fire was not just comfort, it was a passport. With fire, humans could move into colder places. They could warm shelters, dry clothing and hides, cook meat, harden wooden tools, and survive nights that would otherwise drain the heat from their bodies. Without fire, migration changes completely. Northern Europe becomes nearly impossible. Cold Asia becomes a death trap. High mountains become barriers. Long winters become walls. Ancient humans still spread, but their world is smaller. They remain tied to warmer regions, easier climates, and places where raw food is available year-round. This means fewer migrations, fewer encounters between human groups, fewer experiments, fewer cultural explosions. In our world, different human species and populations moved, met, competed, mixed, and learned. Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo sapiens, and others lived across different environments. Fire was part of how humans endured colder habitats, and Neanderthals are now increasingly understood as capable fire users, with evidence for fire activity in Europe hundreds of thousands of years ago. But without fire, cold regions may remain almost empty of humans. No smoky caves in Ice Age Europe, no hearths glowing under mammoth bone shelters, no winter camps, no long northern stories. The human map shrinks, and when the map shrinks, the future shrinks with it. Because civilization is not born from intelligence alone. It is born from movement, pressure, exchange, and adaptation. Without fire, humanity's world becomes smaller, darker, and much less connected. Fire does not only change food, it changes materials. In our real timeline, humans eventually used heat to harden wood, process stone, create adhesives, bake clay, smelt metal, and transform raw matter into technology. But in this alternate world, the entire technological ladder loses its first rung. Wooden spears still exist, stone tools still exist, bone tools may still exist, but many later breakthroughs become delayed, weakened, or impossible. No fire-hardened points, no reliable torchlight inside deep caves, no heat-treated stone, no pottery, no kiln, no metalworking. And that means storage becomes harder. Without pottery, carrying water is harder. Cooking grains is impossible. Boiling plants is impossible. Detoxifying many foods is impossible. Agriculture, if it begins at all, becomes far less useful. Think about it. What is the point of growing many grains if you cannot cook them properly? What is the point of storing food if you cannot protect it with fired clay containers? What happens to villages when there is no hearth at the center? In our world, the hearth became one of the first centers of the human home. In this world, there is no hearth, only shelter, a place to sleep, a place to hide, but not a place where raw nature becomes human culture. This is the moment when the alternate timeline starts to look less like delayed history and more like a different species story. Here is the part most people miss. Fire did not just warm the body, it warmed the mind. Around fire, humans could see each other's faces after dark. They could watch expressions, share gestures, repair social bonds, teach children, remember the dead, plan tomorrow's hunt, and create a shared emotional world. Without fire, social life becomes thinner, not absent. Humans are still social. They still groom, touch, call, gesture, and cooperate. But the long glowing evening, that ancient theater of language and memory, never fully appears. No flames reflecting in the eyes, no shadows on cave walls, no elders speaking while children listen, no safe circle where fear becomes story. The tribe still exists, but maybe myth does not grow the same way. Maybe language develops more slowly. Maybe memory stays practical. Maybe art is delayed because deep caves remain black and unreachable without torches. Imagine a cave wall that, in our world, might one day be covered with animals, handprints, and symbols. In this timeline, that wall is never seen. It sits in darkness for another 100,000 years. Human imagination still exists, but without firelight, it has fewer stages to perform on. And so the human mind changes. Less storytelling, less ritual, less symbolic life, less shared identity. The group survives, but it does not become a people in the same way. Now comes the biggest turn. Even if humans survive long enough to reach the end of the Ice Age, even if they gather seeds, even if they begin to settle near rivers, civilization may still fail to ignite. Because farming without fire is weak. No cooked grain porridge, no baked bread, no boiled stews, no roasted tubers, no pottery ovens, no fired bricks, no metal tools, no burned fields for clearing land. A village without fire is fragile. Food is harder to digest. Disease is harder to control. Cold nights are more dangerous. Predators are closer. Tools remain limited. The first city may never rise. No Uruk, no Sumer, no kings, no writing tablets baked in clay, no bronze weapons, no temples glowing at night. Humanity might remain scattered in small bands across warm regions, surviving by gathering, scavenging, and limited hunting. Not stupid, not helpless, but trapped below a ceiling made of darkness. The tragedy is that humans might still be intelligent enough to wonder. They might look at lightning fires in the distance and fear them forever. They might smell cooked animal flesh after a wildfire and never learn how to repeat the miracle. They might watch the sun disappear every evening and never create a second sun of their own. And without that second sun, history never begins. So what if ancient humans never discovered fire? We would not simply lose campfires. We would lose the night. We would lose cooked food. We would lose warmth in the Ice Age. We would lose the hearth. We would lose pottery, metal, cities, and maybe civilization itself. But most of all, we would lose the version of humanity that gathers in darkness and decides not to be alone. Because fire was never just a tool. It was the first time nature gave humans something terrifying, and humans learned to hold it. A flame is dangerous. It burns. It destroys. It can kill the careless. But in the hands of ancient humans, it became protection, memory, food, family, technology, and eventually history. Without it, maybe we still walk upright. Maybe we still make tools. Maybe we still survive. But we do not become the species that lights caves, builds cities, launches rockets, and stares into the darkness asking where we came from. Because before humans could change the world, they first had to change the night. And that began with a spark.